Welcome to the Soya Investing channel. My name is Colin, and today we're going to discuss how much you need to retire. Is it 500,000? Is it $1,000,000? Does the 4% rule still apply? Why the 4% rule is too simplistic for modern retirement planning. I'm not a financial advisor, but we're going to learn this together. So let's get to it. So if you want to know how much you need to retire, you actually have to track your spending habits. And so it's very important that you always have your cash flow statement, your monthly cash flow statement. If you don't have one, make sure you try to track it on a spreadsheet, what your income is, and then all your expenses, your monthly expenses, whether it's the mortgage, property taxes, hydro, cell phone, car payment, etc. Even your travel budget, break it down on a monthly basis. And so here, these are just fictitious numbers. So here, let's say, for example, your yearly expenses is $40,000, 40K. Okay, so I created a calculator here. Let's say, for example, okay, you have $1 million. $1 million, let's say you want to retire. Is that enough? $1 million, okay, $40,000 for yearly expenses. You also have a cash cushion of 120, so 3 times the emergency fund. It could be less or it could be more depending on what you're comfortable with. So your starting point with your portfolio, you have 840 to invest. Okay, so you're spending 40. Once you spent that 40, that cash cushion, you replenish it here. Okay, and then you withdraw 40 and you put it in your cash cushion, and the cycle continues. Okay, so if your rate of return, let's say you're looking for, let's say you're getting dividends, 4%, the 4% rule. And you can do this. You look at companies. I'm a Canadian, so I'm looking at the Canadian stock market. CIBC, 4%. You got TELUS, 4%. You got Manulife, like giving 5%. TD Bank, close to 4%. RioCan, close to 4%. So you can look for companies that give you 4%, but it's got to be sustainable. For instance, here Enbridge is giving 6%, but the earnings is less than the dividend. So long term, you got to make more money to cover it. Or you can be also lazy, like some people, just invest in an index fund. They think it's safer. Here, this Vanguard high dividend is paying 3.46%. But of course, with Vanguard, you are paying a management fees for someone to manage. The SPY, this one has had really good capital appreciation, but it does only pay you a 1%. If you look at the SPY over the long term, 1993 it was only around 43.94, and until now, if you put that on a calculator, 29 years, you got about 8% compounded annual growth. Okay, but let's say you bought it at the wrong time. Let's say you bought it at the dot-com bubble, right? 150. If you bought it, your compounding rate is 5%. Okay, so it's really important where you buy it at the time of the market. Okay, so just make sure you dollar cost average in. Like right now, it doesn't take a rocket scientist. If you buy it now in these type of times, okay, you're taking a bit of a risk based on looking at the chart. So let's get back to this calculator. I've also included the inflation rate here because the money tomorrow is going to be more expensive. And how I arrived at this 3.5 is just basically looking at the past over 20 years. It's ranged from 0 to 5. So I just took the medium, 3.5. Okay, and as you can see, from year 1, 840 has dwindled down to 300. Okay, at a 4%. So just play with this. You're not just getting dividends. Okay, if you're buying companies, usually you also get capital appreciation. So it could be 5%, could be 6%, 7%. At 7%, this is when it starts appreciating properly. Right, 6% hurdle. Okay, basically breaking even. Okay, now this does not include taxes. If you're Canadian, if it's capital gains tax, 40,000, it is about 1348. It's still not a very big amount. And then if it's just eligible dividends, okay, it's only 600. So income tax is very nominal. And I didn't include the house. So let's say you're fortunate to own a home, okay, 500,000. Even if you have a mortgage, it's okay because we already included it in the expenses. So if this is in lockstep with inflation, by year 20, hopefully the mortgage paid down a lot. You don't have big of mortgage, you have a lot of equity. And this is kind of like a bonus for you, something to think about. So if, for example, if you were only getting 4%, it has dwindled, but then also you have to look about, you have a house that is worth something, okay? There's another way to retire that a lot of people are doing is just, living the nomadic lifestyle, because of the fact that a house, in 1972 used to be 2 times your salary. Nowadays it's over 10 times, maybe even 20 times your salary. Okay, so rather putting that money in your house, they put it just into the portfolio, and then they live in places that are cheaper, like Mexico or Thailand. Here's an example of a couple in 1991. They only had 500K and they retired at 38. And this guy's been doing it for 30 years, withdrawing the 4% rule. I'll put a link to this so you can have a listen. Just listen to this one. This retired at 31, and
we were saving for a down payment just like everybody else, but then the goalpost just kept moving and it just kept getting further and further. When we had 500 grand and we looked back at that house that was listed for 500 grand, now 900 grand. That's just kind of like, wait, going. Why am I like I can't win? And then we looked at the money. We're like, that's kind of a lot of money. Can we do anything else with this?
They said they even went on fancy vacations while they saved. And of course, they put their savings to work.
What we found was financial independence, right? Which is something that we stumbled into. And it's the concept that if you build a portfolio that's big enough, you can safely withdraw 4% for the rest of your life, and that covers your expenses. So that way you can actually retire and you never have to work again. And what we actually found was that after we left our jobs, our costs actually went down. So traveling the world actually only cost $40,000, which is less than how much we spent in Toronto.
I mean, if you have $1 million house, $1 million house and $1 million portfolio, on the surface it should be pretty much the same thing, right? But it's actually not. If you have $1 million house, you still have to go into work. You still have to pay for maintenance. You still have to do property taxes. You still have to buy a car and insure and all this kind of stuff. If you have $1 million portfolio, it pays you. The biggest thing that we've learned here is that if you figure out money, life is incredibly easy. But if you never figure that out, life is insanely hard.
So if you have a target in mind, let's say, for example, if it's $1 million, how are you going to get to $1 million? Well, $100,000, let's say you have in savings, okay? And let's say you can go for a little bit more volatile stocks and go for growth because you have an income. So if you, by year 20, you have 600,000 from 100,000 if you get a 10% return, compounded annual rate of return. Okay, you want to increase that, put more money in. The more you save and invest, the quicker you'll get to your goal, right? So I hope this has been helpful for you. If you like this video, please subscribe and hit that notification button, and see you in the next video. Thank you for your time.